5.9, school consolidation, Mrs. Joseph.
Madam Chair, I want to say a few comments before you call for the vote. Okay. Before I ask the board to vote on recommendation or consolidations, I would like to say that I am not making this recommendation without lots of purposeful thought and without considering all the data and community input we have accumulated over the past several months. It is a very difficult and emotional decision to close community schools. But the school district cannot survive and effectively serve all students if we don't consolidate operations and use these reductions in expenses to provide additional resources to all of our students so that they can be successful and become self-sustaining citizens of this community. This move will also allow us to become more competitive with our employee wages. I would also add that this recommendation is not politically motivated or being made in any attempt to pacify any groups or persons. It is the fiscally responsible thing to recommend for the long-term survival of the traditional public schools in this district. I have discussed this decision with statewide educational leaders, statewide educational associations, and political leaders. They all support this recommendation based on the facts, the finances, and the historic enrollment of the district's public schools. This recommendation has the support of our educational consortium and many Department of Educational leaders and bureau chiefs. This recommendation has the support of our financial advisors and other financial, legal, and business experts. Many educational and political leaders and community members are anxiously watching this live feed and awaiting the board's decision. Our school board policy, number 0123, (N) says, on standards of boardmanship states that board members should listen responsibly to the community and make decisions based on the best interest of the system as a whole. We cannot stall any longer. We must make a decision so that the families and the communities will have the time necessary to make plans for the transition. The district school staffs and other employees must also have time to implement all the merit or steps necessary to have a successful transition in time for the 25-26 school year. And I would also like to commend the school board, commend. Okay, I would like to commend the school board members for their hard work and time they have spent in the community listening to your needs of every part of their community, and they do listen to you. This is time for all the community and its educational stakeholders to come together in unity to help the district to do what is best for all the students in Madison County. This is a time for all the communities to support the school district in offering the very best opportunities for all of our citizens. I hope the board will support my recommendation to reach these goals. And my recommendation at this time is to consolidate any school that has less than 250 students enrolled and move all district traditional public pre-K to 6 schools to Madison County Central, and to move all district public school grades 7 and 8 students to Madison County High School. That's my recommendation.
Okay. Board members, do you mind if I speak? Because, I am the presider over this meeting, and when if you would allow me to speak first.
Yes,
thank you. In rebuttal to Mrs. Joseph, I have had so many people leave Pinette and Greenville. When I tell you, I've been overwhelmed with calls. As of today, I couldn't feed my grandchildren breakfast, lunch, because doing these calls, these last-minute calls. The first one, they wanted me to explain the plan. And I had to tell them that I could not explain the plan. I was not on the committee. I read the plan just like they read the plan. So I couldn't explain anything. There were lots of questions that they had to ask. And I'm not putting them in order as they ask, but then number one, EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. They're saying when we're moving whatever, all the school buses in the repair shop to Lee, what has EPA said? The cleanup. How much money will be spent on the cleanup? And we have to go by their guidelines. As I said, that has not been addressed in these plans. These are some plans, but money-wise, it's not been addressed in these plans, what was shown to me. Then when you move it to Lee, how much money to establish that in Lee? I've been told that Lee is one step away from the county line if we're going to move our central office there, the district office there. If we were going to move it, it would have made sense to move it to the central school. Because another thing, what they said, Greenville the stepchild, the black sheep, so hard for them to get to the central school if PTAs or student acting up or whatever. It's going to be even harder for them to get over there to Lee for the district office. Okay, then they said housing. When did we get in the business of housing? How much is that going to cost? And we don't know if these buildings, what's wrong with these buildings. A study has not been done on these buildings. The school that you're talking about in Greenville is what they said. This school, extra training, certified people, so that is set up for failure from the beginning because there are several requirements to start this school and for people to work at this school. It's different from our public education, you know, here at the Madison Central School or high school. They have to have specialized degrees, special training. So where are you going to get that when we can't get teachers to go to Greenville? So that was a failure from the beginning, is what I was told. And they said when the gentleman presented the plan, told me they didn't understand the plan because it was all foreclosure coming from recommendation from the superintendent. Nothing to save money, to show where it could have been saved. I was told that particular night before I could get home, Ms. Vieta, the superintendent fingerprints is all over this, that the person who presented said that he gave nothing and said when questions was asked about why he didn't include this in his plan, the superintendent told him he could not to worry about that to another day. So that plan was not fairly done. And they were telling me there has not been any cutbacks at the district office on the district part to make sense. What was they telling me? They looked at the high school, said we just keep advertising jobs, and at one time we had a cut on a hiring freeze, and said that bookkeeper at the high school should not have been advertised just right now, that those positions could have been entailed in other positions and stuff. I was told, believe me, Ms. Vieta, Lee and Pinetta say Greenville might not have a choice. But the students that you're thinking that will come from Lee and Pinetta will not come. Say they will fill up the chartered schools, and if not chartered schools, say there is always and already a proactive, not reactive plan, a proactive plan where certain parents over there have gotten together and they said they will not allow their 7th, 8th grade students to go to the high school. Said that they already have considered homeschooling combination of homeschooling, not just one parent. Lots of parents would get together and homeschool their children at a central location, or they would get together and transport these students out of the county. So the money that you're dependent on them to supplement the school will not be there. I had that long conversation today, and I've been having it. So, and I'm just saying, if we're going to consolidate, today is not the time to vote on consolidation, because I think when we were here at this last meetings, we said that we would give the community another chance, or we would work on something different in here. But all these fake people, this is me saying, all these people that Ms. Joseph has listed does not pay taxes in Madison, they don't vote in Madison, they don't live in Madison. And I heard almost 100 people out of county, out of state, their opinion. I heard maybe one from the community of Madison. So I'm just saying we should postpone, at least do some more study before we vote tonight for consolidation. Thank you, board members. Would anybody like to
Do
speak?
we need a motion first or just express our opinion, Madam Chair?
However you would like to do it.
All right. I have got a few things to say, of course. I've gone over this plan, this recommendation from Mrs. Joseph, and spent many, many hours on it. Yes, I have listened to the community, definitely. I know how, I represent District 2, which is Pinetta, Cherry Lake, Hamburg, Lovett, up to the Georgia border. It's a very big district. I have a lot of contact with the people in the district. All right, I'm going to start off with, on page 5, was recommended, okay, consolidate any school that has less than 250 enrolled. By the way, these small schools do not have a capacity of 250, and they've never had 250 students. Now, maybe in their heyday, they had 210, 20, but long time ago. Okay, these are the schools that we're talking about. Lee Elementary, Greenville Elementary, Pinetta Elementary, and the Bridge School. And you may say to yourself, what is the Bridge? I want to give you a little background on this. The Bridge is an alternative school. Students are placed there for various reasons. It is strictly open during the day, just like all the other schools in Madison. On August 30th, when Idalia hit Madison, the bridge suffered damage. The building is located behind Madison County High School. So for the entire school year, the bridge students have been located at Madison County Central School. Seemingly no problems of that arrangement. I'd like the public to be aware of the cost associated with the bridge. Yes, I am very concerned with money. Just to give you some information, a lot of money, almost $100,000, was spent on emergency work at the bridge. $18,000 for a new roof was added. We paid for that. The bridge, which has no more than 30 students, now the superintendent says 30. On a good day, maybe. I'd say on most days, probably 10, 15. They have one administrator, the principal, making with benefits $90,000. They have one teacher with benefits, $70,000. They have a prediction of 2 paras for the 24-25 school year, $40,000 each with benefits. There's no SROs required because the principal is a guardian. That's a savings. Custodial duties are handled by the Madison County High School. Let's see, we've got $10,000 for utilities. Insurance is about $3,000 annually. We have the cost of supplies. Of course, they're going to need their supplies, $2,000 a month for each child. There's about 30 kids, they say, to get the Chromebooks for $250, that's not unusual. Phone service is going to be $50 a month. Okay, this comes to about $285,000 or more. Ladies and gentlemen, can we afford this? Can we afford a principal, 1 teacher, and 2 paras at a school that has no more than 30 students? Just think about that. We're talking about closing up 3 schools that have been there. Pinetta's been there since 1902. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to stay forever, but I just wanted you to be aware of that information. All right, let's take a look at the schools. We've got Greenville Elementary. It has a long history of serving the families in Greenville. There was a quote in here: education would be limited to only the required academic classes set by the state. Isn't that what us parents are expecting? That's what I did. I have a son. That's all I expected. Teach him what's required from the state. Evidently, the person who wrote this has not attended any of the wonderful programs that Greenville is so proudly presented. I have, and enjoyed it all. Yes, the arts are alive at Greenville Elementary School. I hesitate to place blame on poverty, as it affects everyone differently. One of my observations over the years at Greenville Elementary, I would sit in my car with a cup of coffee in the morning waiting for the programs to begin. And what was I seeing? I was seeing grandma walking the children to school, and mama's walking the children to school, and that told me school is important. This is a community school. Otherwise, these children wouldn't even get to the school. And walking, yes, because there's no transportation. When you are poor, and it does exist in Madison, believe me, I've seen it over and over again. But this is a community school, so it's doing a service. It's providing an education for the children. Okay. But due to such few numbers, we couldn't justify keeping pre-K going at Greenville Elementary School. But on the same note, they say, what should we do with the building if we close up? They have this Bezos Academy. Let me say something. Where are the kids going to come from? Is this just a justification for closing a school down? We'll have that. Okay. Smoke and mirrors. Let's take a look at Pinetta. Pinetta opened in 1902. It has a long history of high performance in Madison County. It's mostly A's and B's, the school grade. Yes, it did dip one year. And boy, now they classify it as a low-performing school. In the report, that's what I'm getting this from. Keep in mind, improvement is good, but proficiency gets you a high school diploma, and that's what they have. They have a high degree of proficiency there. But they were quick to say Pinetta is a low-performing school. Let me see here. Okay. Excuse me, I have my notes here and there. In regard to not having the extras and not having what they need, and I've heard school members, they don't have what they need. I ask you, have you ever gone to Pinetta to one of their programs? They have absolutely fabulous spring concerts. They incorporate the Madison County High School Band. I mean, it is unbelievable what I see out there. But if you don't go, hey, you don't know what's going on. All the students are involved using instruments such as 5-gallon containers and much more. The arts are very visible in our community schools. Just visit and you will see. Okay, an idea for the building. Affordable housing project, low rent. Folks, we are not in the horse and buggy days. We all have cars. We're able to get to, we have teachers coming from Tallahassee, Valdosta, Live Oak, here, there, and every place else. We have our people going to teach in Clydeville, here, there, and everywhere else. So in other words, like a principal from the primary school once told us, we depend on homegrown folks. And a lot of that is true. I have a connection. I've got a husband that was born on the property that we live on, and many of the teachers have a connection to the school system. Now, this idea is just in its infancy, providing a low-rent housing. It's happening a little bit in Pinella and Hillsborough County, where they have big bucks, by the way. This is not Madison County. A community center was suggested for Pinetta. If whoever wrote this would go out there, we have a beautiful, well-used community center right in Pinetta right now. So why would we need another one? Okay, let's take a look at Lee. They say the academics have fallen. Have you taken a look at the school grades in Lee? Mostly A's and B's, once in a while a C. In other words, I'm talking about high-performing schools here. Have you ever attended programs at Lee? They have them and they do a good job. Yes, the arts are alive and well in Lee. Okay, their plans to repurposely into a district operation and for their transportation and their bus and their vehicle fleet. Of course, to do this, you have to build a garage with a lift. You've got to do paving, fencing, installing underground fuel tanks at the site. This screams money, big bucks, which we don't have. I'm going to allude to what Mrs. Beata said. Environmental agencies will not allow the present site to sit as it is. Cleanup cost money. But we have to rationalize closing our buildings up. All right. Let me see here now. Okay, full consolidation of our 3 elementary schools at Madison Central and move the 7th and 8th grade to Madison County High School. All right. By the way, in each one of these describing these schools, they mention CTE. I mentioned this to the superintendent earlier. Just for your information, CTE does not exist in the elementary schools. This is something for middle and high school. So they're actually criticizing them for having it, and guess what? It's not available for K through 6. Okay. Now, SROs, there's been no mention of eliminating any SROs. The newest technology, I visit all the schools regularly. They seem to be using the latest and the greatest in technology. I want to address the 7th and 8th grade idea. In 2021, a former school board member who was chair at the time suggested exploring the idea of putting 7th and 8th grade to the Madison County High School. That board member and Mr. Finley, who was the Madison County High School principal at the time, visited Lafayette County Schools and Mayo to gain insight and information as to how it looked. By the way, Mayo is an A district, #1 in the state of Florida. Not too far away either. So this board member, along with the principal at the high school, just to gain knowledge, visited. The superintendent was not interested in going. The director of curriculum was not interested in going. Nobody was interested in hearing about this was a bad thing. We're not going to put 7th and 8th grade at the high school. No, the kids won't be safe. We heard 1,001 reasons why we should not put the 7th and 8th grade. Now, since the board paid $5,000 for this report, and he said put 7th and 8th grade to the high school, no problem. Why? Why is it okay now, but it wasn't okay in 2021? All right, just be patient with me. Okay. All right. Okay, could it be, as stated in this report, if you add too many students and staff to Madison County Central School than its capacity would allow for, it was a potential to overcrowd the facility, create unsafe conditions from student conflict, diminish the expected student behavior, and impact the quality of learning. This is the rationale for sending 7th and 8th grade to the high school. Well, if I was a parent and I read that, I'd be worried right there. All right, transportation. They've been going, the rule, I'm not sure if this is a rule from the state or where the rule is, but no elementary child should be on a bus for more than 50 minutes each day. It is not practical to always meet this route limitation in small districts, transporting students from far corners of the district to a centrally located school. So it could be 50 or more minutes. In other words, get prepared for a long ride. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by saying, parents are the first and most influential teachers in their child's life. Most of you out there are parents. You know your child. You know where they will blossom and bloom. And so many parents have said to me, please, please, my child needs a small community school. And I understand it. And it's the benefits way outweigh, you cannot replicate the small community school in the large school. It can't be replicated. It just can't. Well-supported community skills will not be replicated in a larger setting. I will not overlook success. Also, I will not disrespect the parents, the administration, the teachers, the staff, and students, or the taxpayers by agreeing to close the community schools. Thank you.
One more thing that I want to say about that Greenville land, and the way that the plan is most certainly will be given away. And Mr. Frank C. Merritt, who was principal, and Mr. K.D. Wilson, a local pastor of the AME Church, purchased that land with their money now some times ago, and they had not been paid for that land. It was discovered some time ago that they hadn't been paid. Then the board, with whoever, went back and gave them some money, but it was not on market value. It was based on what they had purchased it from. And they had to purchase that for that land to stay in Greenville for the Negro children and the Negro people during segregation time, never to change hands from the Greenville. It would remain there in Greenville. Ms. Day, would you like to speak on that? I think it was, I'm putting you on the spot, and I don't know if you can speak on it or not, but would you like to speak on that, please? I mean, you have a history.
Well, I attended Greenville Training School. At the time, we had 1st through 12th grade. And when I graduated, our class was the largest graduating class of Greenville Training School. We were so proud, all 15 of us. Anyway, my principal, Frank C. Merritt, who later was the mayor here in Madison, and Reverend K.D. Wilson, my 6th grade teacher, it was discovered that they wanted that land for the school, and it was for the school. And when I worked here my 14 years at the school board office, it was discovered that Reverend K.D. Wilson, who had passed, that he hadn't got all the money that was due him. So with the help of the powers that be, we were able to get some money and give it to her. That is how dear and precious education of children is. And I have spent my life, and by the way, I still have friends of different ages that still visit me, and I've spent my life dedicated to the students in Madison County. And I strongly support what you do. I want to be here to help you in any way that I can do it. So
Ms. Day, let me ask you a question. You were saying that money that was reimbursed to Mr. K.D. Wilson, was it fair market value of that land? It was from the previous what he had paid and hadn't been paid.
That was my understanding.
That's exactly, it was not fair market value
at the time.
So when these folk come in and they get that land, it's a heritage. It's a landmark. And that's why there are no concrete plans for Greenville. It has been almost any concrete plan, but Greenville has made the most sacrifice for these two black people of the community in the way back when purchased this land for it to stay in Green for the people of Greenville.
For education, yes.
For education. That's all. Sorry to put you on the spot.
So ideally, the plan that has been presented is not something that we're voting on. It's not set in stone. The plan clearly states that we will be putting together committees and gathering community input so that we can come up with a solid plan. This plan was put together because the community and some of the board members asked for it. It was simply to show what could potentially happen, not what is happening. The vote today has nothing to do with that plan. The plan is not set in stone, and there will be input for the plan for the future. You know, my comments that I wrote down were being closed-minded to any suggestions, input, and professional opinions is a disservice to our community and our children. When we took an oath to sit at this dais, we committed to putting the best interest of every child in this district to heart, not just one child or one school, every child in this district. For us to sit up here and to do that and to be rude and disrespectful and prioritize personal gains, that behavior undermines the trust and responsibilities for the position that we sit in. Closing any of our schools is a hard choice. However, the best interest of our teachers and students have been neglected for far too long. Long-term board members have fought against this necessary change and have stalled growth for far too long. The decision should not have fallen on us tonight. It should have been made years ago. With that being said, Madam Chair, I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation to close the 3 outlying schools, Pinetta Lee and Greenville, for the 25-26 school year. I do propose immediate planning and formation of the committees to be developed immediately for best practices for student placement and for the future plans of the buildings. Additionally, I would like to recommend that we include a monthly planning phase to be updated for the board.
Ms. Knight, let me just stop you right
Yeah,
there,
I was gonna-
because that's more than one motion.
Okay.
The motion is whether to close the
Well,
school.
then, Madam Chair, I move to
Well-
accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Okay, now you let us speak. The other two haven't had a
I
chance to speak.
understand that, but they can
Before-
speak. I've made a motion. We can go into discussion.
I'm talking to the chair.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
Mr. Reeves, I have a question for you.
Wait just a second.
I have a motion on the table.
You've got a motion, you either need to get a second or.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
ma'am.
Mr.
Now we
Reeves,
can discuss.
I have a question for you. I personally, I've spoken to the superintendent, I met with her earlier today. I don't feel comfortable with the 7th and 8th grade going to the high school. That's me as a parent, that's me as a board member who has had a lot of conversations with a lot of constituents. Not saying that that cannot happen, but as it is currently proposed, I'm not willing to accept that portion of this motion. So I would ask, I don't know if I can ask if that can be amended or not, but I would like to be very clear because I've had many conversations over the last several weeks. This plan that is listed on item 5.10, the 80-page document, is not a concrete plan at all. We are not voting on that. And if you read it in its entirety, you will see that there are still options to explore magnet schools. There are options for the community to be involved. I am a huge proponent for community involvement. And so I am asking, and I don't know if this is permissible, for the amendment to include immediate action as far as community involvement, committees to be formed, and I would like to include representation from the city of Greenville, the city of Lee, the Pinetta, I know it's unincorporated, but a representative from Pinetta. I would like a member of the county commission to be involved. I would like a member from the community college. I have I feel like we need buy-in from the community. The community needs to know that this is not an easy decision for any of us, and we want to know what is in the best interest for your community, and let us work together. There's so many decisive things that have gone on in this process. We are all in this together, whether we like it or not. We have to make a decision, and I want the decision to be with all of the communities in mind. I want all stakeholders to come to the table and to be able to say, this is what would be beneficial for our students in Greenville. This is what would be beneficial for Lee and Pinetta. I don't think any of us up here want to make this decision, but as Ms. Knight said earlier, we're forced to make this decision. And I feel like, it's unfortunate, but it has to be done. We have to make a decision on whether or not we're going to do this. I didn't run for office to sit up here and take pleasure in making a difficult decision. However, I took that oath of office just like everybody else on this board. And when I did, it was with the best interest of every single student in this county in mind. I went to school in Greenville. I'm a product of George Pridgeon and Greenville Elementary School, and I have a huge love for the community of Lee that I live in. Every student in this county matters. Every staff member, every parent matters. So I'm asking, and I don't know, again, if this is permissible, for the motion to be amended to further explore the possibility of the 7th and 8th grade students, because I'm not comfortable with that at the present time.
We have to vote on the motion that's on the floor. It has been
Yes.
motion, it's been second, and any other discussion has to be later. And
I can
so
amend
with that
my
being-
motion.
With that being
Yes, you
said,
can amend.
are you comfortable?
Hold on, I need to say something.
And,
I ain't said nothing.
okay, but I just want to ask Mrs. Thompson, are you comfortable with what you have just said? And especially with the students who will be going, the 7th and 8th graders? And
I'm gonna refer back to Mr. Reeves. Ms. Knight, is she able to amend that motion?
Certainly, Mr. Carroll and Ms. Knight can either withdraw or amend their motions if they would like. As I understand it, just to be clear, there were 3 recommendations made. One was to consolidate any school less than 250 students. One was to move pre-K to 6 to Central. One was to move 7 and 8 to the high school. I think the motion was all 3 of those.
We can amend it.
And so if you don't want that, you need to amend
Was
it.
that
Yeah.
all 3 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Frankie
Well,
wanted
then
to say
there's no need
something.
to amend it.
Frankie wanted to
Mr.
say
Carroll
something.
wants to speak.
Well, I'll amend my second. if she
There's
can
no
do it.
need to amend it. Her motion was to include all of them. It was inclusive.
So I'm amending
So
my
it's-
motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to consolidate any school less than 250 students.
To only do
Oh, yes.
And I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion?
And what I want to say is that I have prayed and prayed and prayed about this. And the can has been kicked down the road too long. All of this should have been made way back.
Okay, may
Way
I?
back. Hey, listen,
okay.
you got a chance to talk.
Mr. Carroll.
Now just sit there.
Mr. Carroll,
Golly.
I mean, calm it down. We understand.
down.
We're emotional.
I ain't never been, but I had a
Just
chance
calm
to-
it down. And audience,
sorry. I'm
no
sorry.
participation from the audience while the board is speaking. No participation.
Speak
Thank
what you
you.
need to say.
There has never, I mean, you've been nice so far, so let it just stay as it is. Mr. Carroll, please tone it down, that's all. I know you're
I'm not saying, I
emotional.
didn't make a mistake, I'm ready to vote.
Okay,
Bump that. You can't say nothing up there.
yes, sir.
But
Go
everybody
ahead.
knows everything but me. But I'm a
No,
simple
Mr.
person, and it's not rocket science. We're not doing our taxpayers service by trying to keep that going. I mean, we've been in that, and it's going further, further, and further, and it's not gonna get any better. So it's time for a change, and I'm ready to go.
I'd like to add one more comment, since we're in the discussion phase. This was voted on in 2019.
3-2.
This board may not have been here in 2019. This whole thing that we're talking about tonight was not kicked down the road. I've already voted on it once, just letting you know.
I know it.
We have a motion on the
You may
floor.
not be aware of it.
And, excuse me, and Mr. Carroll, it's not that your opinion is not valued.
No,
It's
no.
just at that particular time, you became emotional, and then you kind of raised your voice a little
Okay.
bit, so that's all.
It's all good.
I understand.
It's all good.
We all get emotional.
I'm sorry, Miss Day.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Carroll, oh, okay. It has been moved in second, and it's just so many, it boils all down. And will I be correct, instead of including all that stuff, that Mrs. Knight is voting to, is motioning, she's making a motion to close all the out-of-line schools, or all schools with 250 people, students or less.
Are you?
So it has been seconded by Mr. Carroll. That's the gist of it, isn't it?
The recommendation is the outlying schools
She's accepting the superintendent's recommendation of that.
of Pinetta, Lee, and Greenville,
So it,
25-26 school year.
so it has been seconded by Mr. Carroll. We'll take the vote. All in favor of, please show your hands. Mrs. Bishop, 3, 4. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah. All opposed. Mrs. Bishop, 3, 4, 2 opposed, and you have to list the name of the people who are opposing. Mrs. Gibson and Mrs. Hagan. Okay, thank you. Okay, that being said, now, what else is on the agenda?
That's it.
The 5.10 School Consolidation Plan, Mrs. Joseph.
Okay, that plan was put together because the board, I finally heard the board, they wanted a tentative plan of what could happen. And at this time, I would like the board to, I do not want this voted on. This needs a lot of work before it's voted on.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's your plan about, how would you like to proceed in going through with this plan?
Madam Superintendent, I would recommend that we immediately form committees involving the community. I would like representation from each community. I would like representation from the county commission, from the college, and I would like each board member to be able to provide at least 3 committee members that they recommend to help implement a plan moving forward. I would also like to ask for monthly updates from each committee, and I would like to have a tentative date scheduled, maybe, I don't know if this is up for discussion, but if we could maybe say by December, have a concrete plan. And again, this is up for discussion. I would like to give some type of deadline for these committees to come back with recommendations for the school buildings and the plan moving forward.
I've got a question before we go. Would you like for the board to look at the plan and see how they want to meet it out first before we invite committee members?
We can do that, but I also, and this would be a question for Attorney Reeves, I, as a board member, would like to be involved.
You can have to vote on it, though.
But can we be a part of any of these committees? I know we can't chair committees.
We got to vote on it.
You have to
We
vote
can't.
on it.
Yeah. The actual committees that you appoint should not include you, but
Have
those
representation.
committees will need to meet in the sunshine. They'll
So
need to
we
be
are allowed
public
to
meetings.
attend.
You can attend like
Okay.
anyone else, and you can
Okay.
certainly speak
Okay.
and listen to people and all of that.
Okay.
Next week, we've got a trim meeting as well as we've got a couple other things we need to add to the agenda. You want to extend that meeting as a workshop
That would be
That works
next
for me.
week,
What day is that on?
next Monday.
Oh, yes,
That's the 22nd.
I can do Monday.
And that would be for the board to review the plan and see how you want to meet it out.
So you're saying that July 22nd,
Yes, we'll
be a
already
work-
be here.
you're saying that July
Yes.
22nd will be a workshop also?
I'm asking y'all, that's my
Yeah,
question.
can we start
to
it a
you.
little earlier since we're going to be adding to it, or?
Okay, let us know. The original July 22nd meeting, what was it for?
That was trim.
Trim.
That's right.
And then we've got to vote on this resolution.
So can we move it to 5 o'clock so that we
Uh,
have?
It's up to y'all.
And the general public can attend the trim meeting also, so that's not a problem. It's just a regular meeting.
I can have the trim meeting and then the regular meeting and then the workshop. for
So what's the
those
pleasure of the
other
board? What time would you like to meet?
If we could move it to 5 o'clock, that
At
would be
5?
good.
I think we should do it at 6 so everyone can attend, the workers, like we always do. The
Okay,
public's
and if we
expecting
go
our
in a
meetings
little
at
bit
6.
later, fine.
Yeah, the public expects our meetings to be at 6 o'clock.
Okay, with board members, is 6 okay?
Yes, ma'am. 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I may have to leave early, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, we do it at 5:30, we can get rid of those other two
She has
meetings.
said, the board member has said at 6 o'clock.
Well, it's a vote, it's not just one board member, so it's whatever accommodates the majority, not one person on the board.
Whatever the pleasure is of the board.
I'm good with it.
Well, I don't believe in, not letting the public be here to attend, and most folk are able to attend at 6. That's why we set our regular meetings at 6. And, if we're gonna take a vote on it. You
Just leave
said
it at
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock is fine.
We got 3 different meetings going on.
It's been consistent of the board, 6 o'clock. Consensus. Okay, you got that? And that will be on July 22nd, 2021, the trim meeting and workshop that will begin at 6 p.m. Okay. We have item number 6.